I would say looking back probably 15 years, I have not ever had a vacation without carrying a laptop. We are in such a connected world. Not only we are connected at work, but also we are connected through life. Those social medias, emails, it just becomes part of life. I used to say in my father's generation, when they travels, they carry a book, they read.
Mm.
These days, we do carry something to read, but we don't carry a book.
Welcome, everybody, to another fabulous episode of Edu Unlocked with me, your host, Ashish Fernando. And this podcast is about the people behind the scene, people behind the magic of how higher education progresses. And we're talking to some of the leaders who don't just inspire their own institution, but also inspire the ecosystem of higher ed around them. And joining us today is one such wonderful leader. Please welcome Dr. Lin Zhou, who's the Vice President for IT and the Chief Information Officer at Texas Tech University. Lin, welcome to our podcast.
Ashish, thank you very much. Glad to be here.
So it's amazing when I have conversations with CIOs. I feel they're the perfect blend of business and tech. They sit sort of in that intersection. Do you enjoy that role?
It is a fantastic intersection, as you just described. I think that defines how CIO could leveraging technology to drive the measurable outcome in education institutions. So, very excited.
I love it. And just for our listeners to know a little bit more about Lin, he has over 25 years of leadership experience spanning not just higher education institutions, but also blue chip companies. So he brings a really good blend of business acumen and technology. And that's what honestly a CIO role is all about. I know a lot of people who talk to us and ask us questions around the CIO role and how is it different from a CTO role or a chief enrollment officer kind of role. It's the blend, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Dr. Zhao holds a PhD in physics from the University of Glasgow, and he has knowledge in quantum computing. I know that's been the buzzword, especially after the recent Jensen Huang conference, the speech that he gave. I don't know if you looked at it. But there's a lot going on there. He's interested in AI, blockchain, cloud computing, amazing stuff, the things I get really, really excited about. And before joining Texas Tech, Dr. Zhao was the senior vice president and CIO at the New School in New York City, and that's where he was spearheading some of their innovation. Before that, he was in a critical role with IBM Watson Education, and that's amazing. I would love to talk about that because that's at some point it was the peak of AI. IBM Watson. He's received some amazing awards over his career, the CIO 100 Award, the CIO Future Edge 50 Award, Gold Prize from the Wharton QS Reimagine competition. This is amazing stuff, Lynn. I mean, you have to have a passion and a perseverance to do this. Combine tech and education. Tell us how this story started, or you just
Uh,
stumbled upon it.
Actually, first of all, thank you for your kind words, and also thank you for taking our story to your listeners. Glad to be here.
Of
So,
course.
at the beginning of my journey, I have always been on the technology side. When I say technology side, really some companies like IBM, we conducting research on technology, we produce the technology, and we creating some amazing things. Then we work with universities to realize the outcome. And I felt that was a very interesting a career to be at. It really grow our expertise in technology. In some of the technology areas you mentioned, AI, quantum, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And but also the other side of the fence, which is really directly impacting the student journey, directing, affecting the student career pathways, and really prepare them for the future. I think it's also equally, if not more, interesting part because we can directly do those things in the university space. So, for example, in Texas Tech, we are a public institution in the state of Texas. We have 41,000 students. We are one of the largest institutions in the United States.
Yeah.
And our strategic missions includes provide access to education to students, and also we aspire to impact the community. I think those things directly connects to what I have been aspired to accomplish as well. Um, and if you look at IT space, as you rightfully pointed out, we are at the intersection between technology and the business outcome. And I think this is the big landscape. We, as the CIOs, or we as any technology leader, even without a CIO title, we can make a significant impact to everything our key stakeholders are interested.
I completely agree. You kind of sit between the way presidents think, high vision and business and the student experience and thought leadership, and then you're able to translate that to the tech team and what we can actually achieve and what we can build. Amazing. But one important question, and I ask this to everybody in higher ed because I came from technology to higher ed, right? I have a passion for both. Passion for AI. We're building some of the most best, amazing AI infrastructure for enrollment for a lot of our schools. But my grandfather started 7 schools, right? And this like whole education is in the family. The pace of a company like IBM is very different than the pace of a university. How are you coping up with it? You have experience in both. Which is your favorite side?
Yeah, I would say they all have their unique interesting aspects. You're right. I think the pace or how the decisions are made, that process could be different. But we are focusing on the common goal, which is really deliver measurable, quantifiable results. Um, as a matter of fact, I just come back from a class. I taught my first class here. This is my first day in Texas
Oh,
Tech. Had the opportunity to work with a wonderful of some brilliant young minds in my classroom. So my mind a little bit slow this morning. After the class, I'm tired. But I would want to say is that higher education is in a very unique space where we directly working with the students. And as a technologist, I would say our priorities falls along the following 4 dimensions. Number one is how do we leverage technology to raise the education standard. Number two is how do we leverage the technology to broadening student career pathways. And number three is how do we leverage technology to grow the business. Some of the things you mentioned before related to strategic enrollment, student retention, graduation rate, right? That's part of the business, results. Last not least is that how do we leverage technology to elevate the institution brand, right? Our brand recognition. I think those has been the 4 strategic priorities I started to reshape in Texas Tech, and I'm working with a wonderful team over here, trying to do wonders for our institution.
that's amazing. So I'm sure you're very excited about this new role and the teaching and meeting a whole new set of staff and students. Is there any particular initiative that you're most excited about now that you've joined here in terms of what you're going to achieve in the next couple of years or so?
Yeah, I think you and me, as you said, you and me could talk forever about AI because this
Yeah.
is just you are technologist, and also AI, rightfully being said, it is one of the hottest topic on the planet at this point. Um, but I'm say I'm sick of talking about AI at this point.
Yeah.
You can only talk AI for so much and for so long.
That is true. Yes, without doing much about it, which
Without
is
doing much
what.
about it, right?
Yes.
And our listeners also, I would say, the getting a lot more savvy these days about AI. So I would actually want to point it out, seemingly apparent, but also is an emerging technology coming our way, whether we like or not. It will completely transform how we live, how we work, and how we socialize with each other. And
Wow.
this is quantum computing.
Is there any, I mean, I'm always fascinated by the leaps in quantum computing and like when I was listening to Jensen Huang say it's going to take at least over a decade for quantum computing to make a shift, and I feel like, wow, I mean, this is the CEO of NVIDIA saying this. Hasn't he already seen the value of quantum computing in many ways? Because small parts of that apply to everything we're doing with simple cloud technologies, with AI. So yeah, I'm a big fan. But is there anything you feel like people have this misconception? Everybody talks about AI, but like there are so many, in my opinion, like misconceptions and myths about what AI can do and what it will do. I'd love to hear if you have any thoughts.
Okay, yeah, okay. So let's talk about the parts you and me both are sick of keep
Yes.
talking. So let's dive in a little bit. It is, I think it's fairly apparent the AI, and more specifically, I think what people are talking about AI today are related to the generative AI. Those pre-trained transformer large language models, including video and image as well. There are three profound opportunities for the generative AI to improve. You can call those myths or call those paradoxes. Number one is hallucination. I don't have to talk about that. Everybody know what that is.
Yeah.
And I think second part is the knowledge cutoff. Many of those models are pre-trained. Probably the data get fed into the model could be 1 year or 2 years old. So if you try to ask the most recent fire in California, what's going on, the AI model probably wouldn't be able to answer just because the knowledge is so updated, right? We call that knowledge cutoff. The third piece really is the privacy and also the transparency, explainability. What's really going on once my data goes into the model? What's going on, right? So those are the three things, among many other things, AI could have opportunity to improve. And those are the three things to my mind is also the hurdles for generative AI to be even more broadly adopted by the users because those are the concerns. Even for the higher education space, as you know, we have student data. The FERPA, HIPAA, even for the younger child, there could be COPA. There are so many regulations surrounding the data governance. So I think those are the big opportunities, AI from the AI research, AI production point of view, we need to overcome. Are there ways to address those issues? Absolutely. There are already lots of wonderful work in terms of how those models are pre-trained to overcome. But also there are ways in the post-trained models, how do you actually put guardrails and how do you actually narrow down the scope for the pre-trained models such that the answer is more appropriate to the context where the answer the question is seeking for. So I think those are the things we can make. Really, at this point, we are ready to take on the advantage of AI to make substantial advantages. So I would say for higher education space, for my peers, the enrollment management, student success, I would say take advantage of it. Think about how many people we have to grow to manage student success, to help them identify the courses. Take advantage of that, but be mindful that we need to put guardrails surrounding it so that we do not, so we minimize the downside.
Appreciate the answer, and I think, because of what our backgrounds are, we had to have this one question on AI, so this is good. But I think we're going to take a break from AI. We've talked a lot about it. Let's talk more about cheers to that. Let's talk more about you, Lin, right? So, you're clearly interested in this, in education and CIO and technology, and that's why you've been doing this. If you were not in education, what and you had the choice, what career path would you have chosen? Would you have become a
Uh,
physicist?
No, the answer would be very obvious.
Okay.
Let me share a story. It was quite interesting because when, if you allow me, can I share my story?
Of course. That's
Yeah,
what we like to hear.
yeah. So when I joined Texas Tech 3 months ago, uh, I had all employees meeting. We call all hands meeting. So we brought in the entire division, come together, basically introduce myself and just tell them who we are. There was one question I never expected
Mm-hmm.
toward the end. They said, Lane, looks like you have been a scientist for some time. Tell us very similar to your question. Tell us one of the things that you felt was interesting, you would want to invest your time
Yeah.
beside your job. Never expected, just like your question, never expected and completely surprised. And I said, what that would be. So I said, well, let me tell you what I done last. Let me tell you my last patent. Maybe that would be a hint of what I potentially would do. So they said, okay, tell me about the patent. So I
Yeah.
said, first of all, many years ago, our country sent our astronaut to the moon. And we are the people on Earth were able to observe, to watch the moon landing, right? The first footprint
Yeah.
in the soil of moon. And the reason we can watch it because we can transmit images, vision, right? The vision
Yes.
over a long distance, right?
Yes.
Then I said, second thing, we used to go to theater to listen to music, right? Those performance. But
Yes.
today, you could actually turn on your radio. You can listen some of the amazing performances, right? Not to say you shouldn't go. I mean, they're still different, but you can
Yeah.
do that. And the reason we can do that, we can enjoy the music is because we can transmit the sound over long distance, right?
Yes. With
Not
absolute perfection, that too. Yes.
right? Very precise. You can tune the what do you call that? They call the frequency, right?
Yeah.
How higher the frequency, the more fidelity you can transmit. That's come the third part. I said one time I travel a lot. She just let you know I travel a lot. One time I was in Paris and my wife was home, so I said I want to be nice as a husband. I want to buy something for her. So I went to a shop and they're good at the perfumes. So I want to
Yes.
buy a perfume for her. So I called her. I said, I see this really nice. It smells really good. Would you like it? She said, describe the smell to me.
Yeah.
Can I do it?
No.
Well,
Yeah.
we
I'm
can't, right?
curious to see where this is going. Okay, I'm interested. Yeah, it's of course it's at this point it feels like it's impossible to transmit smell like you would sound or visual across the earth. Yes.
Can't, right? So that was my last patent.
Oh. Oh, wow. So you developed a way or an algorithm that could actually transmit a sense of smell?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
And we did it in a neurological way.
Yeah, because smell, just like sound and vision, in the end, it's the brain comprehending whatever it sees or hears or smells. So if you can alter the brain into thinking a certain smell, you could technically uh, get that smell. Is that the angle that you all took in the research?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's
Wow.
all it's all electric signals, as you
Yeah,
all know, right? It's all the electron interchanges between the
sure.
neurons creating
Yeah.
the smell. So, answer to your question. Now you know where my answer to your question, your initial good question. If I have a choice, if I have all the resources, all the money, not to say I'm, if I have the financial independence, everything I have a choice.
Yeah.
That'll be one thing I would spend.
Liz, honestly, yeah, like that would be a revolutionary sort of thing to do. And yeah, you're extremely passionate about it. I mean, you don't write patents just like that because you thought of an idea. You actually did some work, and that's amazing. That's amazing. Plus, you have a physics background, so you really understand the world very differently than most human beings in a good way.
So hopefully that's a reasonable answer
Oh, very,
for your
very. Oh my
question.
God, yeah. I think it's the best answer I got for that question. I always ask people, and somebody will say, "Oh yeah, yeah, I probably would be a pilot, or probably would be," but you're saying I actually created a patent, and this is what I would be doing. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Uh,
I also felt the angle is, remember, my passion working with a student, is try to enable to really creating the impact to the community. I think if we really can overcome that technology, this will be a much broader impact to everyday's life of everybody, including my wife as well.
yeah. You know what's this might be a little deviation, but you got me so interested is as human beings, we've actually not understood the full capacity of our brains and how it actually stores information and retrieves information, right? It's still an unsolved problem. But to solve this challenge of like, how do I send an electric impulse to no smell? Don't you have to understand like how the brain stores and retrieves information? I'm very curious.
Yes, yes, that's part of the invention
Yeah,
of it, right? So there are lots of work. Obviously, there are lots of work need to be done, and there are also other parallel technology as well. So
interesting. And would you say that's the most like unusual project you've ever worked on? Sounds like there's more in your life.
yeah, there are more. There are more in my life, and this is, as I said, this is one of the last. I said this is the last patent which I was granted. So I just want to share that with you to answer your question to say, I feel that's where my passion is, really to impact the community, the people's life. Much like we as an educator, right? I'm an administrator in the university, but I think we are all hardwired one way or the other. We cannot get away from research or the teaching, right? We are just
Yeah.
hardwired to do it because we felt that's a connection, how we can directly impact other
That is
people's
very
life.
true. That is very true. And thanks to the invention of the smartphone, we cannot even now get away from technology. So my question to you is, do you ever turn off all of this, like technology, all the thoughts around this and unplug? And if yes, what do you do?
I would say looking back probably 15 years, I have not ever had a vacation without carrying a laptop,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
me
pretty,
too.
yeah, which is sometimes pretty sad. You would think, right? But also that also echoes what you just, alluded to. We are in such a connected world. Not only we are connected at work, but also we are connected through life. Those social medias, emails, it just becomes part of life. I used to say when in my father's generation, when they travels, they carry a book, they read.
Mm,
And these days, we do carry something to read, but we don't carry a book.
no. Yeah. Yeah, it's electronic.
It's all electronic, right? And personally, because I was brought up in such a way that I appreciate the sound of opening a brand new book. I want to hear the cracking noise of the sound of the paper. I enjoy the smell of the ink, the oil of the ink. That's still
Yeah.
ingrained in my neurons. I still appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I would say we need to be adaptive. Everybody, we need to be adaptive, and I adapted, and I'm sure many of us also adapted as well. Become part of the connected world, or part of the matrix. How do we say that? We become part of the matrix.
We become part of the metrics. That is profound. And also I see the passion for uh fragrance and smell and odor. Like even the way you describe a book, you're like, oh, it smells a certain way. I love it. Yeah, I carry a book everywhere. Even at all times, it's in my bag. If I get 10-15 minutes, I like the feeling of touching a page and moving a page. So yeah, but we're connected. Honestly, I feel like this is the most connected we've ever been as a human race, right? Like you can reach out to anybody at any time without spending a dime. Like I remember my parents' time, it would be like, hey, cut the call, keep the phone down, it's enough, you talked enough, it's charging us for every minute. Right? And even that felt like, wow, I can hear somebody on the other side of the earth. But now you can see them, hear them, and you don't really spend extra money on it. It's just your data. Uh,
And
Amazing.
very soon you will be able to smell them, whether you like or not.
Yeah, you've actually opened this whole new thought process in my brain. My brain's always thinking of things, but amazing. I'm gonna tell my wife about this. She'll love it. Yeah. I know people are working on technologies where you can feel the person, right? Like Cisco started with telepresence, where you could literally see them as if they were in front of you, and then now they're making it such that you can touch, and then you add the sense of smell to it. Can you imagine like doing an African safari sitting in your home? You can actually smell the elephant standing next to you.
Yeah. That's the part I said. Whether you liked it or not, you can smell it. But also back to the education space, right? We talk about for students. I think that potentially, if we can truly build that immersive environment, I think that would be big for the education industry. We can totally transform some of the
Yeah.
things we are doing today, and help our students to master really the skill set they need for the new world.
I love it. And I'd like to ask you this question. A lot of people like seem to be concerned that students are taking shortcuts now that they have, the internet and they have chat GPT and all of these things. Like nobody today says, oh, if you use a calculator, you're taking a shortcut because that's normal now, right? But yeah, the calculator made like instead of doing hand calculations, it was a shortcut. And soon, this will also not seem like a shortcut where people are using like ChatGPT to write code or write their documents or something. Uh, I actually view it in a positive light, even though many people think it's in negative light and humans are learning less. What are your thoughts? Are we really learning less?
Yeah. Who was it? Was it Socrates? Um,
Um,
I forgot that one of the old Greek philosophers held a similar view as well. Remember when the writing was first invented? Um, this philosopher said that writing going to make people not learning because you can just read. You don't have to learn. You can just recite. And also would degrade people's memory because you don't have to memorize as much because you can just look up, right? This is very similar argument, which you actually
mhm.
creating this topic. But we all know those quickly over the years, we all know we actually learned by writing. We all learned from other people's writing as well. So what is our prediction for AI? I think obviously we need to, at least in the higher education space, we encourage students to, as we adopting new technology, whether they are AI or they are Gen AI or old-fashioned AI or whatever, you need to, because you are coming here to learn. So there is academic integrity we need to maintain. That's the first thing, very important, academic integrity. Number two is to be respectful to each other because some of the technology can be pushed beyond what is intended for, right? So that's the second part, be respectful. And the third is leveraging the technology for the benefit of your learning. Don't, because some of the things are obvious, are common sense, right? If you're cheating and if you don't do the homework, you're not learning. So obvious answers, don't do those things. But beyond that, I'm a big believer. Technology is more than just a topic for you to learn. Technology actually help you to learn. Um, and if we do not teach our students enough, if we do not encourage them to practice the new technology in their own situation, when they graduate, I felt we are not preparing them enough to work with the real world. So as I said, I just finished my class this morning, and I told them that you come to my classroom, all the exams will be open book. You can bring whatever you like. But I'm just going to tell you, if you do not learn, you're using technology, if you do not learn, you just can't do well in the exam. So in the exam, because as
And
an
in
educator,
life.
in your
Yeah.
life, right? So I think as an educator, we need to teach students where they have to know because people only have 24 hours. I mean, maybe we have 25 hours a day, right? We only have 24 hours a day. They need to sleep. And they have lots of things to do. As an educator, we need to figure out what's the most important thing which has, exponential impact to their life. And those are the skill set we want them to spend time on. And some of the other things can be auxiliary, and those can be deprioritized. So technology needs to be thought in that context, including generative AI.
I love it. I love it. This is really worthwhile, and I hope students are listening to that. And yeah, I feel the same way. I feel the same way. We have to learn, and technology is great, but we have to ask why questions. That's what I tell our employees as well, right? It's great. Use ChatGPT. I don't mind at all, but ask at least five why questions. Why should I do this? Or why I'm saying a certain thing. Don't just say, "Hey, ChatGPT, give me the answer." Okay, done. Right. So it's good. Okay. So to kind of conclude the podcast, I like to ask a series of rapid fire. I call it "What's one" question. It's all like, "What's one thing" kind of question, right? Would love to hear your answers to that. Lin, what's one skill that you think every student should learn, no matter what major they're in?
Math,
What's one emerging technology that you think people underestimate?
quantum.
Quantum. I love it. I knew that was coming. What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone who is aspiring to lead in your kind of role?
Be a good communicator.
What's one lesson from IBM Watson education that you have carried into your role at Texas Tech?
Never stop innovation.
Love it. What's one thing that universities should stop doing in order to make room for innovation?
Maybe I answer from different way. I say move faster.
Move faster. Yeah, yeah. So stop moving slow. Yeah. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. What's one productivity tool or an app that's on your phone that you cannot live without?
Email.
Email. Okay. Yeah. So you're able to do fast emails using your phone on the run. Yeah. I can imagine you sitting at the beach on vacation with your wife, but like emails on, and she's, yeah. My
That's
wife
that's
will
prob that's probably part of the New Year resolution. I try to do it less.
do less. And finally, what's one piece of advice you would give to your younger self, who's starting out in technology?
I would say think technology differently as a technology. Think technology as your partner.
I love it. I love it. Lin, this has all been great. Your answers have been bang on. I'm sure our listeners are going to love listening to this. Is there any final words you want to say in terms of, what's going to happen in the future for universities, for students, and where we should be heading from like a CIO's wearing a CIO's hat, right?
Yeah, I would say for students, I would say keep challenging your professors.
Yeah.
Don't take what you heard from internet as fact, because your professors has lots of experience, lots of knowledge. Work with your professor, ask hard questions, and that they are good at working with you. And that's actually our job as a professor. For my colleagues, I would say be mindful about these days. Everything takes a village to accomplish. And it's not about me, it's not about I, it's about our team, it's about our partners. How can we work together? And broadly about technology, I would say be safe,
Be safe. Yeah.
be healthy, and be mindful with to other people, be respectful. Do good with technology. Don't be evil.
Amazing. I love it, Lin. Thank you so much. That came very seamlessly and fluently from the depth of your mind and heart. So thank you very much for that. And thank you for being part of the podcast.
Thank you, Ashish, and thanks everyone.
Thank you. And thank you to our listeners for joining another wonderful episode of EDU Unlocked with me, Ashish Fernando, and our amazing, amazing guest for today, Dr. Lin Zhou from Texas Tech. Thank you so much, everyone.